Hi everyone, it's Helen here from Bodywork-Pilates. And if you've ever been to Pilates, either mat work or reformer, then you will probably have done shoulder bridge. And shoulder bridge is the movement we're going to look at today in our ongoing series of how to get the best from. It's a mobility movement for the spine, but it also applies a huge amount of strength into the back edge of the body, particularly through the hamstrings and the glutes. So that's what we're going to look at today. So you need to lay yourselves down, make yourselves very comfortable. You want to have your feet and your knees hip distance apart. That's in line with the hip bones at the front edge of the body, not the outside edges of the hips. And find your natural curve to the low back. So finding that natural curve, allowing the back to press into the floor, no curve at all. Allow the back to overarch, too much curve, and then somewhere between the two where you feel the front of the pelvis rests level. Again, feet and knees are hip distance apart, shoulders are wide, hands rest on the floor at the side of the body, and the back of the neck is long. So when you look up to the ceiling, you're looking at the ceiling above and in front of you, rather than the ceiling behind. If you were looking at the ceiling behind, that would indicate you had a tightness at the back of the neck, and we would want to adjust that. So the idea of shoulder bridge is not to overreach through the ribs. So whatever the curvature of your spine now is, that's what you're aiming to get at an incline. So we make sure that the feet are firm. We press down through the ball of the big toe, the little toe, and the very centre of the heel. Imagine you're holding a small ball between the knees, so you keep those inner thighs slightly tightened. There's a sense of stability there. Draw up through those muscles and draw internally through pelvic floor, that little hammock of muscle that runs front to back between the legs, side to side from sitting bone to sitting bone. So we draw up a little internally. The abdominals will naturally look after themselves. Take a deep breath in, and as you breathe out, just press your lower back into the floor. Those abdominal muscles will contract to shorten the front edge of the body, and then as you breathe in, just release back to a natural curve. So don't overdo it, just come back to natural curve. Same thing again, as you breathe out, not too much weight into the feet. You're going to roll the lower back into the floor, completely press the back through, imprint the spine, and then breathe in to simply release. So if your pelvis was a bowl of water, you'd be aiming to tip the water over the chest, and then take it back to being level again. So that's just the pelvic tilt, that's the first portion of your shoulder bridge, and as yet you've not put an enormous amount of weight down into the feet, but that's what you must do. You must press down into the feet in just a moment to start to engage the legs as well. So let's take it a little bit further. So breathing in to prepare, engage the inner thighs, draw up into pelvic floor, and as you breathe out, imprint the low back into the floor. When you can't tip the water over the chest anymore, that's when you start to press down into the feet, but continue the action of tipping the water over the chest, rather than just tilting the pelvis and then lifting. So you tilt the pelvis and you continue to tilt the pelvis as you roll along to the base of the shoulder blades. You want to get a feeling of being long and reaching right out through the front of the knees, but keep the breastbone and the rib cage heavy. Take a breath in there, and as you breathe out, again, initiate that tipping action as you roll your spine back down. Relax any tension from the shoulders, from the back of the neck, and then release the spine to neutral. Back to that same easy curve. So this is what I see a lot from people. I see people just pressing and lifting. And I see people who start the roll, then just push, and end up lifting way too high through the upper body. It's really important that you bring that length in the front of the body back to being when you're in the incline. Don't try and overblow the whole thing. Now, if you're used to yoga, you may well go higher than that, but we don't do that in Pilates at our studio anyway. Some traditional levels may, but we don't. We take a more modified approach. So the arms are long, palms down, feet are nice and firm, but not yet pressing. Engaging those inner thighs, drawing up into pelvic floor. As you breathe out, tilt the pelvis, tip that bowl of water over the chest, continue to tip the water over the chest, and just peel away, firm down and even through the feet, rolling along to the base of the shoulder blades, At this point, there should be no excess pressure in the neck or the head. Breathe in as you reach out through the front edge of the legs. And as you breathe out, melt the spine back down again, bone by bone, all the way down, imprinting into the lumbar spine before your bum lands. Release the spine back to neutral. Okay, now, we want to also add a little bit more into those legs. So imagine you're pressing your feet down into a box of sand and then pulling your heels to the back edge of the sand. It's like you're almost trying to slide the bottom edge of the mat towards you. And see what a difference that makes. So again, we start with our feet hip distance apart, with our knees hip distance apart. Our hip bones initially face the ceiling, our ribs are softened. We're drawing up through the muscles of inner thigh into groin and pelvic floor. And as you breathe out, you're going to tip that bowl of water, that pelvis towards you, press down through the feet. Now as you press down, almost slightly pull the feet back as well. So you feel those hamstrings in the backs of the thighs working. It holds you steady. Stay soft through the breastbone and the ribs. There's no movement from the back of the head. Breathe in at the top of the movement, and then as you breathe out, press down and pull back again through the feet, as if you're just trying to pull the bottom edge of the mat towards you as you roll your spine back down, releasing the spine at the end of the movement into your easy curve. What that should do is fire up those hamstrings, the hamstring tendons, a lot more. You will feel throughout that your glutes are active. They are your main move, and they're the things that really drive the hips up. So, okay, so once again, pressing down and pulling back through those feet. You're not actually moving the feet back. You want to press and then pull. Like you're trying to pull your heels towards your bottom all the time. So one more time, breathing in to prepare. As you breathe out, lifting pelvic floor, you imprint that low back, relax and widen the upper body, curl and peel, as if you're tipping that water over the chest. Keep pulling those feet back towards you. Feel those hamstrings working, feel those glutes working, stay soft in the breastbone and the ribs. There's no pressure in the back of the head. Breath in, and then as you breathe out, rolling it back down, still pressing down through the feet, still pulling back through the feet, imprinting into the lumbar spine before the bum lands, relaxing the shoulders if they're tight, release the spine back to neutral, and relax. So that's a little bit of the points that we look for in our shoulder bridge. It's a fantastic movement for your back. If you know you have a bit of a cranky back, it's a little bit tight, don't be too concerned about coming too high. Just get that little bit of movement going. But a note of caution, if you have any disc issues in your back, this may not work for you. Certainly the whole movement may not work for you. So be mindful about the movements that you should be making in your back. And if this movement doesn't work for you, there'll be another movement that does. Okay, so that's shoulder bridge, and we'll speak again soon. Take care, bye-bye.